Hey everyone, Walsh here from Thinline Defense, and welcome to the Battle Belt Review channel. Just kidding, welcome to Thinline Defense. I have reviewed an awful lot of battle belts though. So we've already taken a look at the Ronin Senshi belt, and then we also looked at the Warrior Poet Society belt, also known as the Blue Alpha Gear Double Molly belt, and today we're going to be looking at the T-Rex Arms Orion battle belt. Before we get to that though, I want to thank all of our Patreon supporters. You're what makes these reviews possible, and I love being able to do giveaways to give back to you. I also want to say thanks to everyone that likes, comments, and subscribes. I love to hear all your comments and tips and all the things you say I can do to improve my training or improve my shooting. It's awesome, and I'm definitely getting better, and I have you to thank for it. So thank you so much for the support. Let's look at this belt. Now, what makes the T-Rex Arms Orion so special is it actually a little bit different than the other two belts we reviewed, where the other two belts are a two-part belt system. So this is actually a single-piece belt system, even though it technically uses two pieces. I know it's a little confusing, I'll explain it to you. So when I say that it's a single-piece belt system, that means it doesn't connect into another belt system. So on the Warrior Poet Society belt and on the Ronin Senshi, there's actually an inner belt that it actually connects into by using the hook and loop. So this doesn't have that, which gives you some pros and cons, and we're going to go over some of that. And one thing I want to tell you is when you order the actual T-Rex Arms Orion, that's just the actual outer belt. And on the page where you order it though, they actually have a link to the inner belt that you have to order. Be careful though if you're going to run your own inner belt, because sometimes it gets too thick. Like the way you actually have to run it through, some belts can be too thick to actually run through this system properly. And I'm going to kind of show you how it works in some of the different pieces though. So some of the intricacies of the T-Rex Arms Orion that I want you to be aware of is how it actually attaches some things to it. Some will attach via molly, and some have to actually attach via the outer belt. And this can make things a little bit tricky, but once you have it set up, it doesn't really matter, but you're probably going to mess with it like 100 times. So you feed the inner belt through the actual outer belt portion, but some attachments, such as this holster and the actual med kit, will need to actually have the inner belt woven back over and through those attachment items. Now, that's not that big of a deal once you get it all set up, but it's kind of frustrating if you wanted to move this over just one segment. Then I'd have to unweave the entire thing, take everything off, unweave it all, just to move this one section, weave it all back together, and put it all back together again. So it's a little bit frustrating. The actual molly ones, have the molly on the outside, are a lot easier because then you can just take pieces off and move them around pretty easily. This is a little more challenging, but like I said, once you get it set, you're not really gonna change it around a whole bunch. So one of the advantages of a single piece belt over a two-part belt like we reviewed on the Warrior Poet Society belt and the Ronin Senshi is the versatility. Now, the Ronin Senshi is perfect, and the Warrior Poet Society belt is also perfect, and they connect perfectly into your inner belt. But what if you don't have all those things on? What if you have a coat on? What if you have a thick jacket on? I like this as my backup to all of my other belts because it can be a backup to anything. It's really the jack of all trades, but yet master of none. So if my best choice for a belt falls through, this is a perfectly viable solution. So let me show you how you can throw this on over pretty much anything and solve some of the challenges that the inner and outer belt, two-part belt systems have. But you lose some of that sturdiness because you don't have the two belts connected together. But I'm going to show you some tricks that I've learned to actually alleviate some of that and make it a little more sturdy and actually connect into one of those inner belts if you wanted to do that. But let me show you how to put this over a coat or over your jacket or whatever you got. Here I have on a big puffy sweatshirt. As you can see, it goes over it just fine. It doesn't cause any issues. See? Easy to do. And then I have a simple windbreaker. And as you can tell also, same with this, it adjusts and clips on easily and doesn't move around, and it all stays in place. Different jacket, still works just fine. So I think I proved my point on how versatile this belt is, how it works great for any jacket or clothes or whatever you may be wearing that fits pretty much any situation, and it's not just specific to a certain set of pants or belts that a two-piece belt system may be. But let me show you how I actually have it set up, because it adds a little bit more versatility that makes this a great belt to use in any situation. And like I said, it's my go-to backup because it can do just about everything. So I want to show you a close-up of the actual T-Rex Arms Orion. And so here's the actual buckle that comes on it. I do want to say though that the buckle itself is a little bit smaller than some of the others, but it still has a lot of the rigidity in the inner belt, so don't think you're losing some of that compared to the others. So let's actually break down how I have my belt set up. So one of the first things I have on here is my gloves. There's actually a little hook under here that connects your gloves onto here, and these are the mechanics gloves, if I can ever get them off. So I know I have these fast fit gloves on my actual belt, but I really do dislike them. I hate how the fabric doesn't actually curl over the fingertip here. Instead has all this spongy fabric. So when you go to actually touch things or anything, you just feel like this whole bunch of glove on the inside. Super frustrating. Now, as you can see on the pig gloves, and I absolutely love these, they actually wrap around, the fabric does, so when you actually go to touch something, you actually can feel it and not just feel the inside of the glove. Yeah. Anyway, back to the actual belt itself. So next thing I want to show you are the actual G-code holsters. Now these are amazing because I can fit just about everything. Let's bring in some flashlights, some magazines, some random airsoft magazines, ETS mags if you hate life, another airsoft, and here we go, then the Leatherman. So let me just show you this pistol pouch will hold just about everything. My regular pistol magazine, perfectly fine. It stays in there without any sort of issues. We put our Leatherman in there. Yep, Leatherman works. Same pouch, works just fine. ETS mags, if you just hate yourself, see, they still fit too. Let's see, it's nice and sturdy. What about a Strybog mag? Yep, look at this. Perfect. Fits in there and doesn't fall out. So you can fit those in there without any sort of problem. Now what about if you have a weirdo airsoft mags with the weird ends on them? See, they also fit just fine. And then larger airsoft mags, see with the weird tip on there? They still fit in there without any sort of issue. And same with the flashlight, still fits in. Just showing you the versatility of these magazine pouches. They are awesome. Now what about the actual rifle pouches? Now, as you can see, Lancer mags, as we've shown many times, absolutely zero problems. What about P-mags? Yep, P-mags work in there just fine too. Okay, what about, the more crappy airsoft mags? See the little ends on the top? They make it so difficult to fit in a pouch, but they fit just fine. What about these random proprietary mags, like my Tikka mags? Yep, they fit just fine. They stay in there sturdy, and they don't fall out either. I'm going to keep beating this dead horse about the G-code mags, but let's move on looking at the rest of my belt. Moving on from our magazines, let's get all this trash out of here. Okay, so the next thing we have on here is our T-Rex Arms dump pouch. This is a really nice dump pouch because it rolls out, and it's actually a pretty big bag, and on the top you can actually flip this little Velcro part down, and then as you look at it, there's actually a little cover here so everything doesn't come flying out. It also has a cool leg strap, so as you move around, the whole thing doesn't just flop side to side. It actually stays in place, and it's pretty nice. And then to put it back together, you just lift it back up and just kind of roll it up from the bottom, and then you can just snap the Velcro over. It's really easy to use, and I do like this. The next is the actual T-Rex Arms med pouch. It has a cat tourniquet holder, and then it has a spot for chem lights. I have this random red Sharpie for no reason, and it's super easy to deploy. Just pull on one side of the zippers, and you can grab on the med kit and pull it out. And then inside here, there's all sorts of goodies. There's like high-fin chest seals, there's quick claw, there's gloves, and even some reflective tape if I need to mark something. Overall, though, this thing's really nice. You just put it back in here, zip up both sides, and then there you go. Then there's also the radio pouch. So this thing's pretty cool because it has a clip on the back of it that actually fits the clip on the back of the radio. So you open the clip, then you can just slide it in and then close the actual clasp over it, and it stays in there nice and sturdy. This is one of my favorite radio pouches. I think that's Grey Ghost Gear's radio pouch. It's really good. And then we have another hook for gloves or whatever accessories you have, along with this Safariland drop leg. Now I want to chime in for a minute and tell you about how this drop leg just isn't my favorite. And I really think the UBL on the Ronin Senshi, which I'll show here, is a lot better, because what happens with this style is it gets so far in your leg that it actually starts to rotate with your thigh when you're walking. So when you're moving and you want to respond to a situation, you now have a moving target that you need to try to grab onto. And if you've been training in a certain method where, you know, your pistol's always going to be in the same place, like if you use a UBL, it's pretty much going to always be sitting roughly in the same area. It's not going to be at a weird angle. You may go to grab your weapon, and now it's not where it's supposed to be because you're walking or running or dodging or jumping. I don't love this style. It works. This is a versatile setup, so I leave it on here. It's fine. It'll work over most like pants and stuff, but in reality, I would probably change this out. So one thing that is my favorite is the fact this uses the QLS system that can fit all of our different holsters. So here we are with the Nightfall Customs holster, and this is my main one for most of my guns. Then we also have the larger Safariland holster, which as you can see, it also fits just fine. And then we have random whatever this is, but with the QLS on it, so look at this, it fits on there too. But okay, get that off. We don't want that. Really though, the QLS makes this so versatile. I love having this. While I do love the T-Rex Arms Orion and it's a fantastic backup to everything, it's not quite perfect and there are some small improvements you can make and some small modifications you can make to make your belt better. And let me show you what exactly those are. Now, there's actually a belt keeper that they put here where you could connect this belt to your inner belt. And I'm gonna tell you, it's probably one of the single most frustrating things to try and connect. Like, cause you have to like undo your pants and undo your belt to connect it into other. It's just a royal pain. You're not gonna do this. But what's frustrating about it is they actually use the loop side. I wish they would have used the hook side because then I could hook it into the inner belt of my Ronin Senshi or any of the other millions of inner belts that we have. So one of the improvements that we made is actually connect up some of the Velcro 1 straps. So what these do then is allow this belt to then interface with that inner belt system. So now you have some of the rigidity added of a 2-piece belt system by adding a series of these Velcro 1 straps all along the belt. So suddenly this becomes a belt you can use both as a 1-piece or you can connect it onto a 2-piece belt system. So it adds even more versatility and functionality. Now on a 2-piece belt system, you can also add this same padding strap. So don't think you can't do the same thing with a 2-piece. I'm just saying if you have this, you can do some cool tricks. You're not just stuck with it either. So of all the belts, when would I pick the Orion over all of the others? And I would say in any situation that's not a competition. And I say that because in a competition, you want to be precise, you want to be perfect. I want to have all my bits exactly where they're supposed to be, and I want to be able to count on them to be there. But in any sort of realistic scenario, I'm probably not going to have my inner belt on. I'm not going to have the time to don it properly. Hold on. I'm probably gonna have a coat on because it's cold out. I may have some sort of jacket or just some sort of weird combination. I also don't like tucking in my shirt and it causes all the magazines to get jammed up. So the T-Rex Arms Orion solves a lot of those problems in its pure versatility. So I can hold whatever I want in each of the magazines for whatever kind of weapon system I'm carrying around. I can wear it over any sort of clothes and I can don it extremely quickly. So this is an extremely versatile belt where it's not necessarily a competition belt, but it's pretty much perfect for everything else. So to continue in that vein, another way I'd use this belt is probably in an EDC bag. I may throw like a pistol caliber carbine or like a Strybog in there, and then have this belt system and possibly also a Haley DC3 RM Micro so that you could respond to pretty much anything and be able to evade that situation so that you could get to your main gear. That would kind of be the main objective. Put this on so that you could get to your main gear or to get to safety, just to get yourself out of a situation. So if you're responding to a dangerous situation, this bag would be great in order to escape and get to your primary gear. You could just deploy it quickly, and due to the versatility of the belt, you can also don it very easily due to the fact that it doesn't require anything else. Then grab whatever device or weapon you have with you to defend yourself as you escape that situation. So I hope you learned a little bit today about the T-Rex Arms Battle Belt and some of the difference between the 2-part belt systems and the 1-part, and how the 1-part can actually be pretty versatile if you know how to use it, and then those small modifications that you can make to it to make it even better. Plus those G-code holsters. Well, so I don't know which one of you told me to review it, but I have this Eagle Operator gun belt that we're gonna be doing our next review in a nice multicam black, and I'm gonna give you some foreshadowing. There's a fatal flaw on this that you're gonna wanna see and know about before you purchase this one. All right, everyone. As always, thanks to our Patreon supporters. You're what makes these reviews possible. And thanks to everyone that likes, comments, and subscribes. I love to hear from you, and I love to hear you go crazy down the comments and get angry about everything. All right, everyone. Thanks for all your support. Talk to you soon. Walsh out. Why are there so many belts?